Why, good day, good day, good day. So happy to see you here. This course or this class today is it's called Welcome to Your Opportunity to Pivot to Peace as You Retire on Purpose. And it's for every woman who has ever gone through or is going through some kind of a challenging transition. You may not be old enough to retire. You may not even want to think about it yet, but something brought you here. And something has to do with these transitions in life in which we set up the next stage we're going into. It could be a physical disaster. Certainly it was for me. We had a landslide, loss of a spouse, that can be divorce. You can be very young when you have your first divorce, and it's traumatic at the time. You could have lost another family member or lost a career of some sort, a home, or just a sense of general financial well-being. And as I do this recording, I fear many people are feeling imbalance and discomfort with the financial scenario in which they find themselves. And many of you may be setting out on retirement without a plan. Now, no matter how successful we have been up until now, these transitions take some toll on us emotionally. And for a time, we're not looking forward. We're just trying to survive. And it doesn't matter that you think this might be a life-threatening event that throws you off. A friend of mine recently moved 1,000 miles so that she could be closer to her daughter. And it's an unknown environment. In fact, she's moved from the East Coast to Texas. So she doesn't know what the environment is like that, the social mores of her area. She's left all her friends behind, and she's feeling emotionally unstable. And that's affecting her decision making. She's beginning to second guess on her choices. So for a while, you may not function very well. We don't think clearly, our emotions are in turmoil. We may feel betrayed, and we may not even trust anyone. Where are they coming from? Why would I trust them? So the feelings that I equate to this are being overwhelmed, feeling hopeless, feeling a sense of despair, highly stressed. And any of that, but I have to ask, does any of that sound like what you're going through right now? I see your hand. Thank you. If so, you've come to the right place, because that's what the goal that I have here is to help you pivot from all those negative feelings to peace, joy, prosperity, and possibility. What I see women doing in this work is a major shift that empowers them to bounce back from failure and setbacks and imagine re-emerging and with dreams that propel you forward into something entirely new, and then setting out and actually achieving them. Can you see yourself transforming these life events that you're going through right now into opportunities? Opportunities where you can gain the growth and the expansion that ultimately leads to true fulfillment. That's what I would love for you. Now, I have given this talk once before, and I have to say that since that time, I got some feedback, some interesting feedback. I found that, pardon me while I put my stand up so that I can actually see what I'm writing here. I got some feedback that there is a magazine came out called, it's online, Market Watch, and there's a woman there that does very scientific studies on retirement, and she discovered that retirees who have a purpose live 7 years longer than other people. How phenomenal. If we can grab hold of that word, on purpose, when it comes to retirement, we can also do that in our lives in general and live our lives on purpose. We can apply that to something specific. We can look at financing on purpose or funding on purpose, which I find very interesting, because most of us go through life kind of la-di-da, just skating along, not paying attention, and then we wonder why we're not happy. So although that's later on in our talk in more depth, I want you to know it's actually documented by scientific investigation, and it's not just talking off the top of our heads or spouting someone's philosophy. It really has been proven to be true. So my name is Susan Shareko, if you don't know me already. I'm a certified life mastery consultant with the Brave Thinking Institute. I've studied the art and science of success since I was in high school, believe it or not. My dad was a career counselor, and he would let me score the Cooter preference tests. That's a test that you give people to help guide them toward what they naturally are inclined to do with their lives. And probably what is more important to me is that I've gone through these experiences myself. We lost our home to a landslide, and we had to rebuild, which was a period of over 5 years. And I needed a lot of thought process and investigation to figure out what I wanted to do at that point. And it really helps to have someone walking with you as you go through it. And sometimes if you're trying to start a new business, they recommend that you come up alongside someone who is already successful at what you're doing and begin to benefit from the anointment that they pass through to you because you're working with them. So you remember the old-fashioned apprenticeship programs? Throughout history, people were apprentices, and they had a master teacher who was teaching them what to do. Well, this is the same thing with anything we attempt to do in our careers when we're starting out. I think you can, I certainly find it helpful to have somebody who can nudge you into making changes. You're kind of wobbling around, you don't want to make it, or they correct you if they see an obvious mistake and make some other suggestions. And maybe they're the person who celebrates your progress. They clap their hands and they roar when they see that you have done something fantastic, but you've lost sight of it. You don't even notice. You're still in the weeds. So it's wonderful to have somebody who speaks up for you. So that's the journey that we take in the Pivot to Peace program, of which this is one chapter. The work we initially do is internal. It's using the power of our minds. So let's get into the right mindset. I want you to put away the hustle and bustle of your day so that we can get to know each other a little better and center on what it is we would really love in our lives. So let's take a deep breath together. You may close your eyes if you feel so inclined, and breathe in deeply through your nose, and then exhale slowly through your mouth as if breathing through a straw. Let's do that again. Breathe in and breathe out. And if you still feel any kind of outer world stresses and pulls against you, breathe in yet once more again. And let go. Great. All right, you may continue to breathe in this pattern continuously. Open your eyes when you're ready. And then I'd like you to calibrate your energy at this point by recognizing something that you're grateful for and something that you're proud of. Just take a few seconds here to jot those down or to really grasp those thoughts. I'd like you to think of this program as a support system that focuses on moving us from surviving a specific event or situation that triggered massive and emotionally challenging change to renewal and enthusiasm for life and the experience of thriving. We'll be using tools and techniques designed to help you develop a vision, a plan to move forward, and to adjust your thinking to overcome fear, doubt, and worry. As your strength and courage increase, you'll begin to draw on existing skill sets to craft the elements of your dream. Step boldly into your community networks where you can develop the roles you wish to pursue and build the systems that will generate initial revenues, build a solid financial foundation, fund and sustain your journey toward personal and professional development. So how will you change? Well, first, having crystal clear vision and direction reduces your stress. You really get clear and it's not too challenging to move forward. And uncovering and removing any peace and blessing blockers restores your emotional stability. And as you conquer negative attitudes and mindsets, you switch over to positive attitudes and mindsets, and that allows you to expand. Surrounding yourself with like-minded people who support one another will also help you grow, your own vision. And as you become more resilient, you'll find the courage and willingness to create something new. And you go through a whole process of reinventing your life, which brings you a fresh and enthusiastic approach to it. You'll find the space to create your life essentials. You'll begin to prosper as you eliminate extraneous operations and really focus in on how you spend your time. And you'll begin to actually find joy and celebration in what it is you're doing. You will have the opportunity to say, I love my life, and mean it all the way through. So, as I say, the work at first is internal. We use the power of our minds. And it's also a process of observation. What we say matters. I mentioned I want you to retire on purpose. I mean, retirement doesn't have to be a death sentence. If you create a vision and put a plan in place to fulfill that vision, it can open up huge possibilities that are very satisfying. But I want to add one touch here, which I haven't mentioned perhaps as much as I ought in previously, which is don't just write it, don't just think about it. Don't just write it down and reread it 3, 4, 6, 10 times a day. Don't just ask in your prayers for what's going to come to you. It's important that you say it. Now, as part of the Brave Thinking Institute, we say it when we do our dream building exercises. We go through our vision and then we share it with fellow members of the program. And it's the only time we really speak our vision. But I would remind you that in the book of Genesis, verse 1, God said, let there be light, and there was light. I think that's something that goes through all of those religious texts, every group you've ever been with. Speak what you want. So these same systems, applying these over and over and over again, helps us to overcome, bounce back, and become resilient when we experience what we call disasters in any area. We may feel as if the rug has been pulled out from under us, but we don't have to stay there feeling miserable. We can pick ourselves up, we can dust off and see what needs to be done now. So let's check in here. I've been talking to you about how life transitions can throw you off base and cause you great emotional turmoil. Did you see yourself in any of those situations, and did you want to say something about it? Do you have some area of your life that you'd like to improve? Or perhaps something that's calling you to achieve? Because if you do, please raise your hand and say, Amen. Because if you do, that's a sign that you are in the right place. Now, how many of you have ever achieved a goal or a dream in your life that when you first set out the goal, you didn't know how you were going to do it? I'd say raise your hand, because I would think everyone on this call feels that way. We are all more capable than we know. You weren't sure how you were going to do something, and yet you did it. That proves you are more capable than you realize. My intention today is to share some powerful tools with you to start moving you from anxiety and overwhelm to peace and prosperity. I want you to recognize that there is a way, a process that you can take to overcome whatever is disturbing you right now. So where do we begin? We start to pay attention to the stories we are telling ourselves and others. We start to notice them. We live in a world that speaks our dreams and goals to us through 2 growth signals: discomfort, discontent, or longing. We experience a feeling of longing when we're desiring something so much, but we haven't created it yet. And we feel the feeling of discontent when current circumstances are something that we don't prefer. Both longing and discontent are an essential part of growth for both of us, for inside of us. Now, Michael Beckwith has a great quote in which he says, to change our life, we are often pushed by pain before we are pulled by a vision. So these two energies are working together to help us create the outcomes in our lives. I mean, I'm no different. I think I mentioned that my world came tumbling down during a landslide. Well, when you experience a great catastrophe or loss, at the level of fact, things look pretty bleak. In the middle of an emergency, you may be all alone. Destruction may be overwhelming. And that sense of not knowing who to call, what to do, or the how of it all just causes us to go into shock. And it takes a while to get out of that. And I found that problems continue to grow for a while. They don't just stop when you become aware of them. There's sort of a lag time that occurs. We found that the city couldn't help us because we were told we weren't in a disaster zone, and the one single house that had fallen down didn't seem to matter very much to anyone. The city couldn't help us. FEMA couldn't help us for the same reason. The Red Cross couldn't help us for the same reason. They're designed to work on a group basis. So insurance didn't cover landslide events. They even have made it not covered across most of the country. They've eliminated landslides as an insurable risk because the financial destitution is so high. So the situation looked pretty bleak. I had to live with this raw, gripping fear and sleepless nights. It was not a pretty picture. Fortunately, I was active at church. In fact, I was the deacon moderator, and the support of the congregation played a really key point in our getting through it. And then out of the blue, the phone rang, and a producer called my husband, Peter, to ask him if he could work with him on a project. And my immediate reaction was, are you nuts? We're in the middle of a mess. Look at this place. You can't go off and go back to work. But we reminded ourselves that if we were going to be successful in recovering, we had learned from Napoleon Hill that what we needed was a purpose and a plan, which took us to our dream of wanting to have a movie ranch. Now, we decided to focus all of our activities to get that outcome. We didn't know how. We just knew that we had to take whatever steps came one by one as they were revealed. And Peter took that gig and things began to move forward. So emergencies end, you survive, and then at least you survive physically. But then you have, again, a residual effect. You have to survive emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Now, I was fortunate enough to have help. When I left the house, I grabbed a copy of Wayne Dyer's book, There Is a Spiritual Solution to Every Problem. And it became my daily reading each morning as we went through this. The folks in church supported us as we packed stuff out, what we could, and we found homes for our animals and for ourselves. And we wanted to find a rental home. And I would pray for it every morning. And I must say, this was before I began this particular brand of manifestation process. I didn't know all the steps that I now teach, but I did know I could ask every morning in prayer. It might not be the most efficient prayer, but I could ask. And so I began to read and pray and check the newspapers for, any sign of rentals that were available. We found one. And once we got into that house, then the real surviving began, because we had to tackle our mindsets. We learned you can have a disaster, but you don't have to let it have you. You can have fear, and you will, but you don't have to let fear have you. Now, I talk about this whole process in my book, Rainbows Over Ruins, but it took 18 months before we were back in a new home of our own. And once we found we were so blessed by disaster. Not only did we find a space to create a movie ranch, but we also had a much better home that fit the lifestyle we love. And I found a passion for teaching and coaching this system. I absolutely love helping people like yourself to discover, design, and live into their dream. It turns me on. I get excited by it. So my dream keeps evolving. I have grown into my role as a community coach. I feel as if I've been planted here for a reason. I firmly believe that your vision is one of the most important tools that you can have to survive and thrive after any type of disaster, setback, or transition, regardless of the outcome you're seeking. And the older I get, I realize vision will bring you into your retirement plans. That when you bring it makes a huge difference into how you experience that transition, staying vibrant and engaged, enjoying new opportunities instead of becoming grumpy and silent in front of a TV set. And people still do that. So today I'm going to share 3 things that you can do to change the circumstances, situations, and conditions in which you find yourself. Remember, you will want to practice these principles of vision, mindset, and action, because when you do, you will become unstoppable. So let's get to it. Let's start. Are you ready? Now, if you are, please touch your heart and say, I'm in. Does that mean from this moment forward, all your dreams are going to come true? No, not at all. It's just the first step. I'll give you everything I can in the time we have here. And at the end of this class, many of you will want to take this information further and integrate it into your life. And I have a special gift for you that you will love when I give it to you at the end of the presentation. Mm-hmm. Now, do you realize that each one of us is creating results in our lives every day in some way in every area of our lives? Because many people go through their lives doing what they normally do. They roll with the punches, they go with the flow, they talk, they take it as it comes. That's called living by default. Their lives are directed by the comfortable things that they typically do. They don't do much conscious planning. In fact, we think that most people spend more time planning a vacation over a weekend than they do spending time figuring out what they would like to do with the rest of their lives, something they would love. That's what we want to change. We want you to be looking for the life you love. That's what successful people do. They create a life by design, on purpose, hence the title. That means they set a clear intention, a vision for what they would love, and consciously create those outcomes in their life. So where do we create our results? There are 4 domains. I've mentioned them briefly before. There's the energetic state of health and well-being, love and relationships, vocation, or what we call your work in the world, and time and money freedom. When you retire, you may give up the job that you had, the quote unquote career that you had, but you still have a work in the world. But what is it?
Yeah.
You are having results in all of these areas right now. Some results you may love, some not so much. But here's the good news. No matter what the results, no matter how big of a challenge it may feel like to you, no matter how long these old results have been in place, so they're just lockstep, you just do them. You absolutely have the power to create the exact results that you would love to have in your life. And as we get older and tell ourselves that we don't or won't have the time to do this, I'll share that whether it's one day or 40 years, making the decision to create the exact results I would love changes my entire outlook. I am happier, more upbeat, more ready to do whatever it takes to move one step closer to my vision. And what's funny is it shows up with other people. I went to the doctor just recently and she was giving me, she said, oh, these look good, these look good. And she said, and you look good. You look absolutely radiant. I thought, wow, okay, that's purpose and vision expressing itself.
Yeah.
Everyone can improve the results they're getting when you recognize the pattern that created these results. It has to do with focus and a part of our brain called the reticular activation system. Let me show you how it works. All right, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to look around the room for something. I invite you to look around the room and see everything you can that is yellow. So try to remember everything that is yellow. And
Okay.
ready? 10 seconds. Go.
Okay. Okay.
Look for yellow. Count all the things that are yellow.
There's yellow in that.
3,
Yellow.
2, 1, stop.
Yellow. Okay.
Okay, close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, I want you to recall all the things you saw that were red. Raise your hand if you saw more yellow than red. You see, you were looking for a pattern. Every one of you can improve the results you're getting in life when you expand the awareness of the pattern for how to create the results in your life. That's what success courses are about. They are systems for success with patterns for you to follow. The 3 main points of this system, which we've already mentioned, will support you in improving your results and pivoting from overwhelm to peace and purpose. What I've just demonstrated for you is the area of the brain called the reticular activation system, which mediates our overall level of awareness or consciousness. Its job is to bring our sense of awareness to what it is we're looking for and filter out what we're not looking for. It's what we're paying attention to that we will see. Where energy flows, attention goes. Or seek and you shall find. That's part of a Bible quote that's used, it's used repeatedly in the Bible. In Matthew 7:8, ask and keep on asking, and it will be given to you. Seek and keep on seeking, and you will find. Knock and keep on knocking, and the door will be open to you. For everyone who keeps on asking receives, and he who keeps on seeking finds, and to him who keeps on knocking, it will be opened. God is the source of our supply and longs to give good gifts to his children. Now, tying in one of the earlier ideas of this presentation, one of the ways we realize we want to make a change is to listen to what we tell ourselves and others. Remember speaking? So to change, we start by changing our focus. We start to tell ourselves and others what will work. One important part of learning the patterns of success is to know the results formula. That formula is thought causes feelings, which lead to action that leads to results. But which actions? There is an intermediary stage in which we get to choose the right mindset and or the right skill set so that our actions lead to the right results. Most people don't realize this. They look at their results, the circumstances, conditions, and situations in which they find themselves and call those their causes. But they really call them as their be causes. I can't retire because I don't have enough money or I don't want to be bored. I can't start a new business because I don't have the money or because I'd lose all my benefits. I can't take time off because I don't have the money. I can't find the love of my life because I'm not young enough, thin enough. You think maybe I don't have enough money applies there too? I can't whatever because. However, the cause of all our results is right here. It's in our thoughts. Your results are caused by what you have been thinking. This is the first cause. Because you don't get not to think. You are always thinking. You can choose your thoughts, or you can let old habitual thoughts run your life. It's up to you. Look at your results. They tell you what you've been thinking. Now, that's one of the keys. I want you to notice what you're noticing. Notice your body. Notice sensations on your skin, pressure where you're sitting. Notice that you can notice these things. You can do the same thing with your thoughts, and you can notice how thinking affects how you're feeling. I'd like you to apply these concepts of the results formula and notice what you're noticing to your life. If you have a pen and pencil and a notebook, a few pieces of paper, we're going to do a life assessment. And I'm going to present some ideas to you to give you an opportunity to consider your current results. As I make these statements, make note of what feels true to you. First, we're going to think about dreams. You might be a person who doesn't know what your dream is. You just know there's something more you'd like. You might be a person who has lots of dreams, and you don't know whether to choose one or create them all at once. You might be a person who used to dream, but life with its circumstances, situations, and conditions has driven them out, and you don't even consider them anymore. You might be a person who has achieved lots of success, but you're not testing all the fulfillment you want to feel. You're not quite making the difference you want to make in life. The point? Well, every one of us has a dream inside us somewhere, even if we're still endeavoring to find or achieve it. The exercise we are about to do is designed to help you get in touch with that part of you that has a dream. To do this, we're going to consider the results we are currently experiencing in each of the 4 quadrants we talked about. And I'm going to offer prompts for you to consider inspiring your thoughts about your results. You might want to turn to a new page or divide one page into 4 sections as we go through it. But let's start with your health and well-being. You might feel like a person who is stuck and doubts your ability to transform your health. You might be a person who has relatively good health, no symptoms, but you know there is more vibrancy and aliveness you could feel. Well, on a scale of 1 to 5, how fulfilled are you in your current health results? 1 being not fulfilled at all, and 5 being completely fulfilled. Please make a note of that on your page. And then stop just a second and make a positive statement about your health. And I want you to say that I am healed from the top of my head, down, in, and through, all around me to the soles of my feet. It's universal healing. That is the way we want you to feel. So let's look at another level, love and relationships. You might be a person who longs to have a beautiful, deep, fun, and passionate relationship with a loving and caring partner. You might be a person who would love to deepen, expand, and have more fun with a relationship you're already in. And you might be a person who has lost your life partner and is not certain that you will ever be able to find someone else or want to. On a scale of 1 to 5, how fulfilled are you in your current relationship? 1 being not fulfilled at all, and 5 being completely fulfilled. Go ahead and make note of that number. Once again, a different section. We're going to talk about your vocations domain, which is your creative expression, your career, or how you share your gifts with others. You may be a person who feels stuck in a job you don't like. You might be a person who likes your work, but you work too many hours and you want more time freedom. You might be someone who feels called to do something new that allows you to contribute more and make a bigger impact. On a scale of 1 to 5, how fulfilled are you currently sharing your gifts in the world? 1 being not fulfilled at all and 5 being completely fulfilled. Go ahead and make a note of that number. And finally, our 4th domain, time and money freedom. Set aside a section. You might be a person who doesn't have the time, money, or freedom to do the things you really want to do, or give or contribute to the causes and the organizations that matter to you most. You might be the person who's missing important opportunities, important moments with your loved ones and not going where you want to go, or traveling, or having as much fun as you'd like, or playing in your life as much as you'd like to. You might be a person who feels out of balance, like they have more time than money or more money than time, and you'd like to feel more in harmony. On a scale of 5, how fulfilled are you in your current time and money freedom results? 1 being not fulfilled at all, and 5 being completely fulfilled. Go ahead and make note of that number. Now let's just reflect on what you've written. As we considered each of the domains and you looked at your current results, you gave yourself a rating of 1 to 5 for each area. Pay attention to your thoughts around those results. This is not a place for judgment or blame. Your responses are not good or bad, right or wrong. They just are, and they reflect where you are in this moment in time. And you're feeling a pull for more of some things and less of other things, which is a signal that part of you is ready to do something different and get different results. And we spoke about this earlier. This is called noticing your longing and your discontents. Longing, discontent. You are paying attention to and noticing what you would love more of or less of in your life. And think about this. You're probably talking about it. So where do you feel is the lowest rating? And let me ask you this. How long have you felt this discontent? How long has this area of your life been sending you signals? Is it the same as what you brought here originally? Go ahead. Take a moment to write down your responses. And another question to make note of. What is it costing you to have this ongoing discontent in your life? I'm going to let you write for just a moment while I get a bottle of water. Hang on. All right. Did you get your thoughts down on paper? Yay. Whatever your results have been up until now, you have the power within you from this moment forward to create the results you would love. And it all starts right now with those pesky thoughts. Every one of us has a dream in us somewhere, a strong desire for something deep within. So we began to look for it. Maybe you've lost track of it. Maybe there's an immediate problem we believe we must address before we consider the big dream. But it all fits together. Ultimately, we want to capture the dream. This week, I've been doing a revival all week. And there's a young man who came into the revival with his mom. And he's on the spectrum and verbally has no verbal skills whatsoever. But he has mental skills. And I was sitting close to him. And we were introduced. And Mom immediately said he's challenged. But he made eye contact. He was paying attention. And he sat in front of me one night. And he kept turning around and looking at me. He'd sneak a glance to me. And I would smile when I noticed it. I noticed more than I smiled. But he was noticing me. He was reaching out to me without being able to speak. And I found it very interesting. He's there. He has a dream too. He can't articulate it, but he's aware enough to be able to relate to his mom. He tries to speak to her, but still has not managed to do it. And he's able to reach back and reach out to people if they'll only notice him. So I really mean it when I say every one of us has a dream inside us somewhere. We can only find the way to express it. So our goal when we started this conversation was to explore possibilities so we can move forward on purpose. The first key to this is to have a vision and then design it. When you would love different results in your life, you plan for them. If you're building a house, you want to have that blueprint. The same is true with our dreams. Without a clearly defined blueprint, you cannot build your dream and you cannot get the outcomes you desire. So seeing the images of your dream in your mind's eye or written up helps you to come alive about it. And when you come alive, your energy increases, it expands, and you ignite your dream. You take action to make it happen. This is the first thing we focus on in the Pivot to Peace program. We know that once you become clear, opportunities and resources begin to appear out of the blue, and you have no idea of how that could have happened. It's called, by the way, getting into the gap. I don't normally talk about that in this program, but I'm so aware of it right now because waiting is so challenging to most of us. Just because we say we have a dream, just because we could see what it looks like on the other side of this gap, we know where we are now, we see the gap. But when we're in that space in between, when we're waiting, it's just not coming yet, we get very discouraged. And there are ways to deal with this. We learn how to come from the dream so that we feel the feeling tone of that dream. And that feeling tone, what it will be like, who we will be when we have that dream, pulls us forward, step by step. And so it's very important that we keep track of that we pay attention, not to where we are now, not to the specifics of the dream on the other side, because we don't know how to get those, but that we pay attention to the feeling tone of it. What does love feel like? What does success feel like? What does health feel like? And focus there on the passion and the emotion of that to help us move forward. And I heard another wonderful example this week. I'm telling you, revival is fascinating. Minister who actually founded and set up the Times Square Church in New York City. He tours all over the world. And he was talking about God has 10,000 things to do. You have one ask, I want to be, and then you give it to God and expect him to give it to you now. But there are 10,000 things that God has to move around and coordinate and put into synchronization in order for all those pieces to come together for you to get that one thing. And there are billions of people on this planet, and he's doing it for everyone who's asking. Man's busy. So a little patience. I found that very reassuring, actually, because I've seen it happen in my life as well after the landslide. I could see all the pieces that had to come into play, people that I would never have met, people that had no part in my life before then, and yet they came together, they coalesced to make us wind up in our ranch with the big ranch, which was where my husband did his work, 2,400 acres of land in which he was able to run movies from. I was able to commute to work for many years, and now that I'm not commuting so far, I discovered what it is to be a community coach. And lo and behold, one of the first community activities is half a mile from my house. And I just, when our fearless leader at Brave Thinking Institute decided she wanted to see 10 billion dreams achieved, my first flash as a media person was media. That's how we do it. And so I put my focus on being part of a global media ministry. And I Googled, where's the closest global media ministry to me? It's about 28 miles from here. But you know what? It's a church with satellite churches. And one of those churches is 1 mile from my house. So talk about feeling planted. Who organized, who coordinated the possibility of all those pieces coming together? With no knowledge on my part, I couldn't have done it. I didn't even know I needed to. So I just want to say, we do have tremendous power in having the idea in our head and letting the source of our supply do the work of making it happen. We just welcome it. So let's design the blueprint for your dream. We want to be crystal clear. For our purpose and time today, please choose one area of your life that you'd like to improve. Look at your assessment, which area had the greatest cost, and turn up the focus on that area for this exercise. Stay expansive in your thinking. Many of the exercises we do center on learning that skill. Get your pen and paper ready, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write out and tell the story of what you would love most in the area of the greatest cost in your life. And we're going to step into an imaginary time machine and go forward 3 years. As soon as I find my clock and my stopwatch or my timer, there we go. 2 minutes, right? I just said that. All right. I'm going to do 2 minutes. Going to write out and tell the story of what you would love most in this area and go forward 3 years in the time machine. What would you love your life to be like in 3 years from now? What outcomes do you want? Who will you be in 3 years? Suspend any urge to figure it out. How, at least, this thing is going to happen. If I was to give you a magic wand, what would you love to have happen? So take a deep breath, close your eyes. Imagine you get into this time machine and whirl around through time. It's 3 years from now, and you're in the future. And 3 years from now, everything you wanted completely works out. You have all the time and money and other resources required. What would you love? What's happening in that area of your life? If you knew you could not fail, what would you be doing? Well, go do it. Who are you with? See them. How does it feel? Feel it. Let your imagination run wild and dream big with as much specificity as you can see. Use all your senses. See yourself in the scene. What are you wearing? Is this your dream office? Dream home? Dream travel experience? What time of day is it? What's in your environment? How does that make you feel? What is your relationship to the dream? Why is it important? What happens to you because this has all worked out? This is not an extension of our current reality. This already exists in the quantum field. This is your second story, which has the manifested reality. It is communicating to you. What is it telling you? Another sidebar as you sit there thinking about this. Imagine that there is a curtain in front of you. On the other side of that curtain, everything you have asked for has already manifested. It's just waiting for you to receive it, to bring it in. What is that? What is it you're waiting to bring in? Okay, so I want to bring you back to your conscious state and gently open your eyes when you're ready. And just take a couple minutes here to describe on paper everything you have just pictured in your imagination. And at the top of the paper, please write, I am so happy and grateful now that, and take a couple minutes to be as clear as possible as you write out and tell the story of this dream. What does it feel like? You don't need to know what color the paint is on this new home. Might not even require paint. It might be stainless steel and glass and reflect the light through its windows. You might be able to see the comets going by. You might be able to see the first spark of the morning star early in the morning. Or maybe you have trees in front of your windows and you can't see the sky. You can see a bird's nest just outside your window. You might have animals in your life and they play with you. You might have city environment. You might have country environment. You may be in the mountains or in the valleys. You may have a designer wardrobe. You can hardly choose from all the opportunities you have when you get dressed in the morning. 15 seconds. The possibilities are endless. That's that. So at the top of the paper, I'm so happy and grateful now that. And at the bottom, you're writing this or something better still. This or something better still puts out a very powerful signal that what you've expressed here is what's in your awareness at this moment. It's like holding your hands out upright, open, willing to receive something even more powerful and beneficial into your life. So congratulations, you have just created your life by design on purpose. Yes. This is the first key to exploring the possibilities that become your dream, that help you pivot to peace, joy, fulfillment, and prosperity. Let me tell you why this first step is so important. It's because everything is created twice, first in thought, then in form. If you think about it, just look at the space you're in, the clothing you're wearing, the desk or table you're sitting at, the windows, the walls. It was first somebody's thought before it became a tangible thing. Somebody had to think it up. Again, I repeat that first chapter of Genesis. God moved upon the earth and commanded one thing after another to come into existence. Let there be light, and there was light, and he was pleased. Let there be mountains, let there be rivers. He spoke it, it came into being, and he liked it, and he kept going. I wonder if he hadn't liked it, if he would have thrown the whole thing out. But this is what you're doing today with your life. In telling your story, you are thinking up the design, you are designing your vision, your dreams, designing your life. Which brings us to the second point, which is to pivot from overwhelm, fear, doubt, and worry to peace. You are going to renew your mind so you can decide for the dream. And just as we experience results throughout our days, we also make decisions every moment of our day. And that decision may be what time to get up in the morning. Later, we're deciding what to cook for dinner or whether we're going to go get takeout. And from simple decisions to more rigorous ones, we make multiple choices every day. Those decisions influence our results, so even the smallest choices can have an impact. And that's why we want to know how to make empowered decisions that do determine our results, that master our ability to make decisions. Early on in my studies, I was fortunate enough to study with the best-selling author and renowned life coach, Bob Proctor, who said this: there is a single mental move you can make, which in a millisecond will solve enormous problems for you. It has the potential to improve almost any personal or business situation you will ever encounter. And it could literally propel you down the path to incredible success. We have a name for this magic mental activity. It is called decision. In fact, it has been proved that highly successful people are willing to decide for what they would love, even in the absence of knowing how to bring it about. Some people want to know every step of the journey before they decide. They want green lights down the whole street before they'll even back down a driveway. And that is rarely the way that we move forward in our dreams. More often, we see a potential step, we take it, evaluate the result, and watch for the next steps to take. We have a vision, maybe only glimpses of the vision, but we resonate with it. We can feel it pulling us, and we follow the breadcrumbs taking us there. When we're older, we may feel like we shouldn't dare to do such things. There isn't enough time left. Why take any more risks? But if we're breathing and thinking, there is something more for us to do, an assignment to complete, an agreement to fulfill, a love to express, something beautiful to create, someone to impact. We are not stamped with an expiration date. So keep pursuing the dreams that come to mind. Now, you've heard my story. There is another story of how this works. I like to tell the story of Judy. She was a young single mom with 2 kids who went through a Dream Builder program. Her situation was most likely very different from yours, yet the steps she took are exactly what you can do to achieve your dream, no matter how big your dream is. Judy didn't have very much education. She worked in a fast food restaurant and then did seamstress work on the side at night. She lived in a tiny 1-bedroom apartment with her 2 children, yet her dream was to have a home for her family. Now, Judy came across a program like the one you're listening to today. She decided that if she was ever going to change her life and achieve her dream, she needed support. I think I said that at the beginning. We all need support. So she took a huge leap. She decided for a dream and enrolled. That was a tough thing to do. She didn't know where the money was coming from. She was afraid, upset, torn with decisions. But she decided. She got up the courage and decided for it. She told her coach the outcome she wanted was to own her own home, but she only had $500 a month to pay for rent. She believed that there was no way she could ever buy or even rent a house for $500 a month. And she told him so every day. She told herself the same thing every day. She told herself in her thoughts. She told herself that when she wrote down her vision. She told her coach whenever she talked to him. So her coach asked her to describe the house she dreamed of. And it was hard for Judy to do that. Actually, she'd never thought about it. She was so locked into where she was. She did come up with one. She wanted bedrooms for the kids, one for herself, a fence for the dog, the details that would make it feel like her home. And then when she told her coach that, she said, but I only have $500 a month. And have you seen the prices out there? Do you realize how impossible that is right now? I'll never get it. But knowing her dreams can come true, Judy's coach said, now that you have a mental picture of the house, go out and look for it. Judy, this is crazy. I only have $500 a month. I can't get a house on $500 a month. Her coach encouraged her to look anyway. And after 2 weeks, Judy called her coach and said, all right, I found my dream house. And then she followed up by telling her coach, but it's $900 a month and I can't afford it. Now, had Judy been on her own, this would probably have been the end of this story. And to this day, she might still be living in that one-bedroom apartment with her children. Her coach, on the other hand, knew the language, the mindset, and the questions to ask. So he asked Judy, if you didn't know it was impossible and you really thought there was a chance, what would you do? Well, Judy really didn't know what she would do. She was used to looking at the situation, conditions, and circumstances in her life, and that shut her ability to think out of the box down. Yet because her coach had asked her to do it, she began to expand her thinking, and she began to ask, okay, what would I do if it was possible? And she got an answer. She would write a letter to the owner of the house and explain her situation. She described 40 things she would personally do to the house to improve it if the owner could provide the materials and if she could rent for $500 a month. 3 weeks later, she got a call from the owner. He said, I don't know why I'm doing this, but something in your letter just won't leave me alone. Here's the deal. You sign a contract outlining what you'll do every quarter, and I'll let you live in the house for 1 year for $500 a month. Woohoo! Judy immediately called her coach, and you could just see the smile beaming as she said to him, we're moving in 30 days. I'll have my dream home. It's a wonderful story. I always want to give Judy a big hand. Like, wherever you are, Judy, you are an inspiration to all of us. And the story doesn't end there. Over the course of the year, Judy did everything that she had promised to do for the owner. Within 3 years, Judy owned the home. Her dream had come true, and she learned a new way of thinking thanks to her coach. That new way of thinking and telling her story also got her a new career. She started her own home-based business and got to spend more time with her children while her income soared. Her life had a whole new meaning. The key is that you must make a firm decision for what you want before you will bring the dream into reality. You won't know how. All you may have is one step, and you must decide to take that one step. No new process can begin, no new path can be forged until a decision has been made. Even in the absence of perfect conditions, you begin to ask, to declare your fulfilled vision every day, and a whole manner of things begin to occur and rush to your aid for fulfillment of that decision. Now, that's a little hard to grasp, but there's an example from Stanford University which sort of demonstrates this, that it doesn't matter what order the letters in a word are, because the brain can figure it out if it knows the first and last letter. They're in the right place. The middle can be all jumbled up, and your mind can still make sense of it and read it. This applies to your vision as well. The improvements or possibilities you would like to explore. You did an assessment a little bit earlier, and now you have an idea about what you want right now, right? Well, what you would love, right? After journaling, you recognize your dreams, where you'd like to go. But what happens in the middle? Between the results and the outcomes? Do you have any idea how that dream is going to happen? Not yet. It's just jumbled up middle letters. That's the how. That's the stuff that we can't know right away. We will find out. So we suspend the how. We let it go. We're going to refuse to let the unknown stop us from deciding to move forward. Your mind has a way of making sense of it all. All it takes is to be willing to decide and saying so. Today's the day I'm going after my dream. Today's the day I say no to the doubts and reasons it won't work, and I say yes to the possibilities and opportunities. Today's the day I'm going to suspend belief in conditions and instead believe in the power breathing me. So you're going to say your vision and declare it every day, maybe 2 to 3 times a day. You're going to hold this vision close to your heart, because this is where the rigor of the work starts. This is where the battlefield of the mind kicks in. When we decide for a dream, like we all have done here today, there's a part of you that says, yes, I'm doing this. And there's another part of us, yes, I'm doing this. And there's another part that rises up and says, yeah, right. That's not going to happen. Or that voice says, well, how are you going to do that? You've never done that before. Or who do you think you are? You don't have the time, money, or resources to do that. Are you familiar with thoughts like that? They get in your face when you want to do something. Well, these are simply old patterns. We call them paradigms that are trying to pull us back to the comfort zone. Typically, they do that in 3 ways. We call them the 3 Ds. The first D stands for delay or distraction. I've come home late, so I'm not going to go run, even though I should exercise. I just want to sit down and write. Now the baby is crying. I'm going to have to come back later. The second D is dissuasion. I can stop. It's all right. I deserve a break. Besides, I'm not seeing any results right now. Why am I even bothering? It must not be the right time. No sense beating my head against a wall. It's probably not worth the effort. And the third D is DEFCON 1. And this is where a sense of fear and anxiety set in. And often physical symptoms even appear. And they have the strength and power to stop us in pursuing our dream altogether. And we don't want that to happen, do we? No. It's not a matter of whether the 3 Ds are coming, but when will they show up? I want you to be aware of the paradigms so that you'll recognize them. And when they show up, you get even better at this work. The truth is that the matter of the paradigms is that they're coming. They're coming, and it's really good news. What? Good news? Yes. It means that you are on the green, growing edge of your life and seeing, shifting the results around you. Those 10,000 things that have to happen are getting closer, and your paradigms are screaming, no, stop. Don't bring them any closer. So there's no reason to fear the paradigms. Cheer them on. Notice when you think of the dream, go, heck yeah, this is cool. And pay attention to that feeling for a moment. And yeah, that nagging part of your voice, in your head will come and say, yeah, right. You don't have what it takes. Who do you think you are? Well, it's part of you that says, what if you fail? That's the voice of fear. It's that part of you that's willing to accept things as they are, that wants to stay in the status quo. That's a paradigm again. That's the enemy in the battlefield of your mind. Fear will disguise itself as practicality. Fear won't say, I'm here to kill your dreams. No, it's too smart for that. It's too smart to put you on alert. No. It has to say, really, I'm here to keep you safe. I'm here to make sure you never have to experience that level of pain again. I'm here to make sure your kids and your family are taken care of. I'm certainly here to make sure that you don't get embarrassed or become a loser. It's the voice that says, now is not a good time. Wait until later, or just forget about it. It says you don't have the money for that. That's irresponsible. You don't have the experience or the credentials. Who are you to have this dream? Now, have you heard those voices before in your life? Right, raise your hand if that's the case. Okay. So let me ask you this. What if you fail? Have you ever had a failure in your life before? You know what? We all have. And I can prove it. We have had some of our first experience with failure when we were babies. We started out as non-walkers. And we looked around and we saw people all around us. They were walking on two hind legs instead of all fours. And you wanted that level of freedom for yourself. You wanted to be upright and not floor bound. So you rose, locked your eyes on that toy or cookie that you wanted. You gave it your best shot, trying to take a few steps, and you fell down. But what did you do next? You rose up. You tried to take another step, and you fell down. When you were learning to walk, did you ever think to yourself, well, that's it. I guess I'm just not meant to be a walker? Well, no, of course not. You rose up and began again. And I might mention that at that age, you probably didn't have the language skills to make that statement, I'm going to be. I will never be a walker. But with each try, you took a few more steps and a few more until you were successful and you became a walker. Something happens to us when we become adults. We stop giving ourselves permission to fall down. When we fall down in business, we say, I guess I'm not meant to be in business. Or we fall down in love. I guess love isn't in the cards for me anymore. Yet the truth is that we learn to walk by falling down. It's the falling down and getting back up again that's actually the key to achieving our dreams or overcoming adversity. We look fear in the eye and we give ourselves permission to develop resilience and fail enough to succeed. Now, there are a lot of famous people that you know who've done this. Oprah Winfrey wasn't fit for TV. She started her own network. Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen had a wonderful book, but it was rejected over 100 times because the publishers didn't like the idea of 100 short stories in a book. Now there are 250 different versions of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Walt Disney was fired from his job because he didn't have any imagination. The man who started the Magic Kingdom and hires people for his imagination company, you know, he went on to build the Disney empires that is now worth over $190 billion. Nick Vujicic, he's an evangelist and motivational speaker. He was born without arms and legs. His parents encouraged him to learn how to groom himself, use the phone and the computer with his toes. He had a good mind. By high school, he was seriously depressed, but he learned how to make lemonade from the lemons that had been given him. He began to speak publicly, found his way to speaking engagement at conferences with major motivational speakers with his compelling story. He has written numerous books and founded 2 nonprofit organizations to encourage the disabled and disadvantaged. Today, he is married with 4 children and continues his ministry. Another young man I've come to know, Stu J., suffered severe traumatic brain injuries at age 11. He was not expected to live, but he did, and he overcame many of his disabilities. 20 years ago, he discovered his calling, his passion, to advocate for others who suffer similar disabilities. He learned to do many things for himself, had the courage and willingness to go to congressional offices to speak with leaders about what they could do to help the disabled in their districts. He has learned not to take no for an answer, but rather seeing it as someone's way of saying, not now, you're bothering me. He created a job for himself in an organization that he has just started that provides contractors for the services the disabled required and are helping to teach disabled people how to function in our world. On a smaller scale, there are thousands of people who have experienced negative circumstances, situations, and conditions. We all have the choice to pursue our visions, regardless of age, disability, or financial situation. If you would love it, you can create it in your imagination and then move it forward step by step. So what if you fail? you will learn that somewhere in the process, be prepared to try again. When the voice of doubt questions you, let your response be, bring it on. I might fail, but if I do, I will keep up and keep going, and I will succeed. You are probably asking, how do we give power to the part of us that wants to move forward when we're hearing that voice that wants to make us play small? When we are telling ourselves stories that this will never work. There's a whole process to this, the art and science of building dreams. But for our purpose today, I'm going to give you one thing you can do today. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. So when you notice those paradigms showing up, whatever form that shows up, fear, whatever, when you start thinking small, here's what you do. Interrupt that thought and say, not today, and reconnect to your vision. Refocus your mind on the dream. All those ideas that dissolve your discontent and answer your longings. Focus on what you would love. That dream brings you alive and has good in it for others. Put the fear out of your mind. Instead, bring your mind to the dream. And then the next key, take an action step. Just thinking about your dream, just thinking, writing it down, it's not going to make it happen just poof like magic. You must choose to do your part, even if it means doing it afraid. Take a moment and look down at what you've written and ask yourself, what's one thing I could do? What is one action I can take in 5 minutes that would move me in the direction of my dream? There are probably a lot of things you could do. If you're looking for love in your life, you could join a club where you could meet someone who has mutual interests. You're starting a business, you could Google search, how to write a business plan. You got an idea? So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think into your dream. Think from it and get that feeling tone. What does it feel like? What does my dream feel like? How do I feel? What's making you expand? What about that dream is making you expand? And then allow those, just take 30 seconds to come up with what ideas are coming to you. What action step could you take? What one thing could you do in 5 minutes that would move you towards your goal? Remember, it took many attempts at taking steps before you learned to walk. And that was an important milestone. So is your dream. What's one thing you can do? Okay, so raise your hand when you've thought of at least one thing you can do, one action step you can take in the direction of your dream. It's the first step of a map to your dream. An important part of facing your fears and turning them into the motivation to move into action. Now, as I promised when we began, I'm offering you a gift. Then I'll close with a story to wrap up this call. So let's recap what we've covered. There is an invisible pattern to success. When you expand your awareness of that pattern, your results naturally increase. We learned that if you want to change your results, you have to first change your thinking. We learned to keep enjoying life and feeling positive about your life, you have to live on purpose. You learn to generate new ideas about what I would love. You learn the 3 keys to go for your dreams, no matter your age. Design your life on purpose, your dream. You have a blueprint of what you want to achieve, and the clearer the blueprint is, the more power you have. And when I say clear blueprint, I mean the way it feels. You get an idea, it's mental. Now you want to bring it down into your heart. What does it feel like? Once it's in your heart, then it begins to move into action. So you decide for your dream. There's a great deal of power to be had in making decisions. And so you decide for what it is you want in the absence of knowing how to do it. And then you stand up to your fears. They are part of the process. When you stand up to the fears and failures, you shift the paradigms to achieve your dream. They move out of the way. Remember, you are worthy of your dream and of the life you would love to be living. So have you connected with any of these ideas that you know that if you could implement them, they would make a big difference in your vision? Great. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I have a special gift for those of you who are ready to take action. I offer discovery calls. They're 30 to 45-minute conversations where we get clear on exactly what you would love. What would you love to create? And the next most important steps that you can take that move you in the direction of your dream and improve your results. Some of you are all ready to invest in achieving your dream. So for you, here's your next step. Some one-on-one time together over the phone with me where we can invest in you, your dream, and discover the path for how you can get there. The one-to-one session has value. However, I'm offering a discovery call completely complimentary, no charge. It's my gift to you. How many of you are serious about achieving your dream and would like to have this call? Please raise your hands. Great. For those that would like to have the call, please go to www.discoverycallwithsusan.com. It's all one word. Discovery Call with Susan. It takes you to my Calendly calendar where my schedule is posted. Pick a date and time where there's an opening and book the date. If no slots are available, fill out the form anyway. And as my schedule opens up, then I'll give you an opportunity for a discovery call as well. So let me tell you this story. It's a true story about a man named William H. Murray. Now, William H. Murray is known as one of the top 5 mountain climbers of all time, but he didn't start out that way at all. In fact, he almost let his opportunity for greatness slip right past him. A man named Edmund Hillary was putting together a team to attempt to summit Mount Everest, which is the most, it's considered the most difficult climb in the world. Hillary wanted Murray on his team. At no point at that juncture had anyone ever summited or mastered that summit of Mount Everest. So there wasn't a lot of money to be spent. I mean, there's a lot to spend, but they couldn't get it in order to spend it. Every one of the climbers would have to spend his own energy, pay his own way. So when Hillary invited Murray, Murray thought, I would love to be on that expedition, but how much is it going to cost? And when confronted with the price, he saw no way that he could possibly do it. So he had to decline the invitation, and Hillary went on to climb without him. They had a great expedition, but they didn't reach the summit. A couple of years later, Edmund Hillary came back. He said, we never reached the summit. We want you to be on this team. Please come with us. And for the second time, Murray asked, how much is it going to cost? And he still couldn't see it. It was a number he couldn't believe for himself. So he declined it based on conditions. Hillary the team hiked a second time. They got further up the mountain, but they still didn't meet the peak. Deja vu. Hillary asked Murray again. And for the third time, Hillary says, Murray, we're going to go one more time. And I think we're going to reach the summit this time, because when we got down the last time, I looked back at Everest and I said, I will climb you because you're not getting any bigger and I am. So this time, when Hillary asked Murray to come up with the deposit, Murray asked a different question. He said, how much is the deposit? Because Murray decided that he would go on the expedition. He had no idea how he was going to pay for the trip, and the how didn't matter. He was committed. He put the initial payment down and he was on his way. As it turns out, Murray attracted all the financial resources required to go on the full expedition. And it was Murray who discovered a southern route at the base of Everest that allowed the group to summit the mountain. It's pretty cool. Murray wrote about his experience in a book, Evidence of Things Not Seen. And one of the famous quotes out of that book is, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Let that sink in. Absence of evidence is simply absence of awareness. You have a Mount Everest level dream. What is your dream? Moving to a new season as a leader, entrepreneur, impacting the community, being more creative, writing a book? Perhaps there's no clear path at this time, but that doesn't mean a path doesn't exist for you. It just means that you're still growing your awareness to be able to see the things you can do to generate the result you want, even if you think you're too old for these things. Remember, we are living longer with more opportunities to develop our gifts and talents in new ways. So many examples. Grandma Moses painted 20 years from age 81 to 101 years old. Dorothy Manin took up China painting in her early 80s, which became the best years of her life. Painter Bill Traylor was broke and homeless at 85 years old, but he sold his art in the streets of Montgomery, Alabama when he was discovered. Artist Mary Delaney, twice widowed, began paper cutout art between 68 and 88. Colonel Sanders started KFC in his 60s, and today's talents are still working in their 90s. Mel Brooks, Carol Burnett, William Shatner. They're still working. They're still out there. It's so marvelous to see them. I am honored to be able to support you in learning to live on purpose and retire on purpose. I'd like to close with a quote from Murray's book. It says, "Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. Namely, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise occur. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no one could have dreamt would have come their way. The 10,000 things. And as Goethe wrote, whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. You have a splendid idea. You wrote it down. You can feel it. You made a decision for it. And to achieve the outcomes you want, you get to decide for it again and again, no matter the circumstances, no matter the fear, no matter the failure. You get to decide for it when it's uncomfortable and you don't feel like it. Because there's one elementary truth. You commit to your dream, you befriend your fear, because when you do, a whole stream of events issue from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which you could not have dreamt would come your way. So for those of you who are willing to commit to live on purpose, commit to your dream. And for those of you who would love support in reaching their quantum leap, if you would love a coach to help you summit your Everest, go to discoverycallwithsusan.com, and book a date with my calendar. Remember, know that what is inside of you is far greater than any challenge you're facing. You have incredible power within you. This is your what's next moment. Today is your day to take bold action, because as Goethe says, whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. It has been a privilege and an honor to have spent this time with you today. Thank you. We all have dreams. Let's start building them. Let's start getting them. Let's start living on purpose. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a great day, everyone.